Hello friends, I hope you are well. Today we will talk about Xenophon. Xenophon was born around 430 BCE in Athens, Greece, during the height of the Peloponnesian War. He belonged to a wealthy aristocratic family and received a traditional education that emphasized literature, philosophy, and military training. As a young man, he became a student of Socrates, who significantly influenced his intellectual and ethical outlook. Despite his Athenian background, Xenophon admired the Spartan way of life, which would later lead to tensions between him and his native city. In 401 BCE, Xenophon joined Cyrus the Younger, a Persian prince, in his campaign against his brother, King Artaxerxes II, to claim the Persian throne. Although initially invited as an observer by his friend Proxenus of Thebes, Xenophon ended up fighting alongside the Greek mercenary army known as the 10,000. The campaign led to the Battle of Cunixa, 401 BCE, where Cyrus was killed. Stranded deep in Persian territory, the Greek army found itself leaderless. When their generals were treacherously captured and executed by the Persians, Xenophon emerged as one of the key leaders. In his work Anabasis, Xenophon vividly narrates the dramatic retreat of the 10,000, a harrowing journey through hostile Persian lands and the snowy mountains of Armenia. His leadership, strategic decisions, and resilience helped the army safely return to Greece. This journey remains one of the most famous military adventures in history. After returning from Persia, Xenophon entered the service of King Agesilaus II of Sparta, who was leading campaigns against Persia. Due to his support for Sparta, Athens' historical enemy, Xenophon was exiled from Athens, possibly around 394 BCE. As a reward for his service, the Spartans granted Xenophon an estate near Scylla, in the Peloponnesus, where he lived for several years. During this period, he devoted himself to writing, hunting, and philosophy. In 371 BCE, when Sparta was defeated by Thebes at the Battle of Leuctra, Xenophon lost his estate and moved to Corinth. Despite his exile, Xenophon remained engaged in Greek political and military affairs. Around 365 BCE, Athens revoked his exile, but it is uncertain if he ever returned to his homeland. Xenophon was a prolific writer, covering history, philosophy, military tactics, and even economics. Some of his most famous works include Anabasis, Hellenica, Memorabilia, Oeconomicus, Symposium, Apology of Socrates, Cyropedia, Agesilaus, Hipparchicus, On Horsemanship, On Hunting, Synegeticus, The Constitution of the Spartans, Lacedaemonian Constitution, The Revenues of Athens, Ways and Means, Anabasis. Anabasis is Xenophon's first-hand account of the expedition of Cyrus the Younger and the Greek mercenaries, known as the 10,000, as they marched deep into Persian territory and their struggle to return home after Cyrus's death. The book is written in 7 books and is considered one of the greatest adventure stories from ancient Greece. Book 1, The March of Cyrus. Cyrus the Younger, a Persian prince, gathers an army to overthrow his brother, King Artaxerxes II. He recruits Greek mercenaries under the pretense of fighting a smaller enemy. The army marches from Sardis, Asia Minor, through Syria and into Mesopotamia. Book 2, The Battle of Cunixa and Cyrus, Death. The Greek mercenaries realize they are part of a larger plan against Artaxerxes. At Cunixa, 401 BCE, Cyrus is killed despite the Greeks winning their part of the battle. Left leaderless, the Greeks face betrayal and uncertainty in a foreign land. Book 3, Betrayal and Leadership of Xenophon. The Persian satrap, Tissaphernes, deceives and kills Greek generals. Xenophon, an Athenian soldier, steps up as a leader. The Greeks decide to fight their way home rather than surrender. Book 4, The Harsh Retreat through Armenia. The Greeks march north through hostile Persian territory. They endure hunger, cold, and attacks from local tribes. In the famous moment, they reach the Black Sea and shout, Thalata! Thalata! The sea! Symbolizing their near safety. Book 5, Alliance with the Thracians. The Greeks continue their march, encountering Thracian and Greek cities. They seek ships for transport but struggle with internal conflicts. Xenophon navigates political tensions among Greek city-states. Book 6, Service under Suthas of Thrace. The Greeks serve as mercenaries for the Thracian king, Xuthus II. Xuthus exploits them and refuses full payment. The army seeks better opportunities elsewhere. Book 7. Return to Greece in disbandment. The 10,000 join Spartan general Thebron against Persia. Their journey concludes as they reintegrate into Greek affairs. Xenophon reflects on leadership, loyalty, and Greek unity. Anabasis remains a timeless story of resilience, leadership, and adventure. Hellenica. Hellenica is Xenophon's continuation of Thucydides' History of the Peloponnesian War. It covers Greek history from 411 BCE to 362 BCE, detailing the aftermath of the war, the rise and fall of Spartan dominance, and the eventual rise of Thebes. The book consists of 7 books and is the most important historical account of this period. Book 1-2, End of the Peloponnesian War, 411–404 BCE. Picks up where Thucydides left off, 411 BCE. Athens suffers defeats at Aegospotami, 405 BCE, leading to its surrender in 404 BCE. Sparta, led by Lysander, imposes the rule of the 30 tyrants in Athens. Athenian democracy is restored in 403 BCE after a rebellion led by Thrasybulus. Book 3-4, Spartan domination in the Corinthian War, 404–395 BCE. Sparta, under King Agesilaus II, expands influence in Greece and Asia Minor. The Corinthian War, 395–387 BCE, begins as Athens, Thebes, Corinth, and Argos oppose Sparta. Sparta wins key battles, but Persian interference forces peace. King's Peace, 387 BCE, Persia dictates terms, ending Greek unity. Book 5, Decline of Spartan Power, 385–371 BCE. Sparta grows more aggressive, attacking Olynthus and Thebes. Theban revolt, 379 BCE, Thebes, led by Pelopidas and Epaminondas, rebels against Sparta. Athens forms the Second Athenian League, 378 BCE, to counter Sparta. Book 6, The Rise of Thebes, 371–362 BCE. Battle of Leuctra, 371 BCE, Thebes, using innovative tactics, crushes Sparta. The Sacred Band, an elite Theban unit, proves decisive. Sparta's dominance in Greece is shattered. Book 7, Theban Hegemony and Battle of Mantinea, 362 BCE. Thebes, under Epaminondas, becomes the leading Greek power. Theban expansion into Peloponnesus weakens Sparta further. Battle of Mantinea, 362 BCE, Thebes wins but loses Epaminondas, weakening its hold. Greece remains divided, paving the way for Macedonian dominance under Philip II. Hellenica provides a crucial historical bridge between Thucydides and the rise of Macedonia. Memorabilia. Memorabilia, Greek, eponymonoumata, is Xenophon's defense of Socrates, presenting him as a wise and virtuous teacher rather than the corrupting influence for which he was executed in 399 BCE. The book consists of 4 books, each containing dialogues and anecdotes that showcase Socrates' wisdom, ethical teachings, and practical philosophy. Book 1, Defense of Socrates, begins with Xenophon refuting accusations against Socrates. Socrates is portrayed as a pious, moral, and rational man. He never forced opinions on others but encouraged self-examination. Emphasizes obedience to the gods and respect for laws. Book 2, Socratic Ethics and Practical Wisdom. Socrates teaches about virtue, justice, self-discipline, and leadership. Advises young men on how to live a good and productive life. Argues that happiness comes from wisdom and self-control, not wealth or power. Book 3, Socrates on Leadership and Friendship. Discusses qualities of a good leader. Encourages rulers to govern with wisdom, fairness, and humility. Teaches about friendship, love, and the importance of good character. Book 4, Socrates' Intellectual and Moral Teachings. Socrates discusses knowledge, ignorance, and the search for truth. Encourages critical thinking and questioning assumptions. Ends with an example of Socrates living according to his own teachings. Memorabilia serves as a counter-narrative to Plato's works, presenting a down-to-earth and practical version of Socratic philosophy. Oeconomicus. Oeconomicus, Greek, Oeconomicos, is a Socratic dialogue that explores household management, oikonomia, agriculture, and leadership. It presents Socrates discussing the role of a good household manager, oikonomos, with Critobulus, a wealthy but inexperienced young man. Xenophon uses Socrates to provide practical and moral lessons on managing wealth, property, and relationships. Critobulus asks Socrates whether wealth alone ensures success. Socrates argues that wisdom and skill in management are more important than money. Socrates explains that a household, oikos, includes land, property, and family. Good management requires knowledge, discipline, and leadership. A good manager is like a general or ruler, guiding people and resources wisely. He should be educated, disciplined, and hardworking. Women also play a key role, especially in domestic affairs. Socrates introduces Xenophon, a wealthy and successful Athenian. Xenophon describes training his young wife to manage the household efficiently. Emphasizes teamwork, order, and discipline in the household. Farming is portrayed as the best and most honorable way to earn a living. It teaches hard work, patience, and respect for the gods. A good farmer is also a good leader, as he must plan, organize, and oversee workers. Success in both household management and public life requires virtue, honesty, and intelligence. Wealth is not an end in itself but should be used responsibly. Oeconomicus is a blend of philosophy, economics, and practical wisdom, making it an essential text for understanding ancient Greek views on wealth, leadership, and domestic life. Symposium. Symposium, Greek, Symposium, by Xenophon, is a philosophical dialogue set during a banquet, symposium, hosted by the wealthy Callias in Athens. It is a lighter and more entertaining work compared to Plato's Symposium but still explores deep themes of love, virtue, and the ideal life through Socratic conversation. The dialogue takes place in a festive setting, where guests, including Socrates, engage in playful discussions, storytelling, and reflections on what makes a person truly admirable. Socrates, the central figure, known for his wit and wisdom. Callias, the host, famous for associating with sophists. Critobulus, a handsome young man. Hermogenes, a serious and pious man. Antisthenes, a disciple of Socrates, known for his ascetic views. Charmides, a well-mannered guest. Philip, a comedian who provides humor. Autolycus and Lycon, a young athlete, and his father. The dialogue takes place at Clea's house after a Panathenaic festival. To entertain the guests, Callias invites a Syracusan entertainer with dancers, musicians, and acrobats. The mood is joyful and lighthearted. Callias asks each guest to explain what quality makes them admirable. Their answers range from wealth, physical beauty, strength, wisdom, and virtue. Antisthenes argues that virtue and self-discipline are more important than wealth or looks. Socrates, with his usual irony, claims to be an expert in the art of matchmaking and love. Socrates contrasts physical love, lust, with noble love, spiritual connection. True love is not about physical attraction but about inspiring virtue and wisdom in others. He praises the love between teacher and student, where the goal is moral and intellectual growth rather than mere pleasure. The comedian Philip lightens the mood with jokes and playful insults. A dancing girl performs, sparking discussion on the beauty of movement and skill. The guests engage in friendly banter about flirting and courtship. Some guests argue that happiness comes from pleasure and indulgence. Socrates counters that true happiness comes from self-discipline, wisdom, and inner peace. As the evening winds down, the conversation celebrates friendship, laughter, and intellectual exchange. The guests leave, enlightened but entertained, reflecting on Socrates' wisdom. Symposium, by Xenophon, is a charming, witty, and insightful dialogue that blends philosophy with entertainment. It provides a unique perspective on love, virtue, and the art of living well, making it an enjoyable read for those interested in ancient Greek thought and culture. Apology of Socrates. Xenophon's Apology of Socrates, Apologia Socrates, is a historical and philosophical account of Socrates' trial and defense against the charges of impiety and corrupting the youth. Unlike Plato's Apology, which presents Socrates delivering a long defense speech, Xenophon's version is shorter and more focused on Socrates' fearlessness in the face of death. Xenophon wrote this work because he believed that Plato did not fully explain why Socrates accepted his fate so calmly. He portrays Socrates as a wise and noble man who welcomed death rather than compromising his principles. Socrates was not afraid to die because he believed death was either a peaceful sleep, nothingness, no suffering, a transition to another life, where he could meet past heroes and thinkers. He saw old age as a burden and preferred to die with dignity rather than grow weak. Xenophon emphasizes that Socrates did not try to defend himself aggressively. Unlike Plato's version, where Socrates gives logical arguments, Xenophon's Socrates accepts his fate as inevitable. He refuses to beg for mercy or use emotional appeals. Socrates believed in his divine inner voice daemonion, which guided him in life. His calm acceptance of death was because his daemonion did not warn him against it, meaning it was the right time to die. His friends offered to help him escape, but he refused. He believed escaping would mean betraying his philosophy, as he had always taught people to respect the law. He also thought living in exile would be dishonorable. Xenophon presents Socrates as a man who lived according to his principles until the end. His death became an example of how a wise man should face injustice with dignity. Xenophon's apology of Socrates is a powerful but straightforward account of Socrates' final moments. It highlights his bravery, wisdom, and unwavering moral values, making it an essential work for understanding the great philosopher's legacy. Cyropaedia. Cyropaedia, also called The Education of Cyrus, is Xenophon's biographical and philosophical account of Cyrus the Great, the founder of the Persian Empire. The book blends history, political theory, leadership principles, and moral philosophy, presenting Cyrus as the ideal ruler. Although it is based on historical events, Cyropaedia is not a strict history but rather a didactic work, showing Xenophon's vision of the perfect leader. It influenced later political thinkers, including Machiavelli and the founding fathers of the United States. Xenophon portrays Cyrus as a wise, just, and charismatic ruler who unites diverse peoples under Persian rule. He is skilled in military strategy, diplomacy, and governance. Unlike Greek rulers, who often ruled by force, Cyrus governs through meritocracy, fairness, and persuasion. The early chapters focus on Cyrus' upbringing in Persia, where he is trained in self-discipline, justice and fairness, military strategy, leadership and communication. His education prepares him to lead both in war and in peace. Cyrus conquers Media, Lydia, and Babylon, expanding the Persian Empire. His war strategies include building alliances with local rulers, rewarding loyalty instead of punishing enemies harshly, using psychological warfare and deception in battle. He believes a ruler should be respected rather than feared. He values merit over birthright, promoting talented individuals regardless of status. He delegates authority effectively, trusting competent commanders. He treats his subjects like family, ensuring their loyalty. Unlike tyrants, he rules through consent and organization. He establishes a stable bureaucracy and military structure. He maintains peace by allowing cultural and religious freedom within the empire. In the final chapters, Xenophon suggests that Cyrus' successors failed to uphold his values, leading to the Persian Empire's decline. He contrasts Cyrus' leadership with the corruption and inefficiency of later rulers. Xenophon's Cyropaedia is more than a biography, it is a manual for leadership, military strategy, and statecraft. It presents Cyrus the Great as the ultimate ruler, combining wisdom, justice, and power. Whether historical or idealized, it remains one of the earliest works on political philosophy and leadership. Agesilaus. Agesilaus is Xenophon's biography of King Agesilaus II of Sparta, whom he admired deeply. The book praises Agesilaus as an ideal leader, highlighting his military skill, discipline, and commitment to Spartan values. Xenophon, who was personally acquainted with Agesilaus, presents him as a model king, embodying courage, justice, and loyalty to Sparta. The book is both a historical account and a work of political philosophy, emphasizing leadership virtues and military strategy. Agesilaus is the ideal Spartan king. He is depicted as wise, just, disciplined, and humble. Unlike many rulers, he does not seek personal luxury or power, but rather the good of Sparta. He is deeply religious and respects Spartan laws and traditions. He is a brilliant general, leading Spartan armies against Persia, Thebes, and other Greek states. He defeats larger enemies through strategy and discipline rather than sheer numbers. He treats his soldiers like brothers, gaining their loyalty and admiration. His campaigns in Asia Minor weakened the Persian Empire's influence in Greece. Despite his victories, he remains modest and avoids arrogance. He lives simply, following traditional Spartan discipline. He does not abuse his power but rules with fairness and integrity. He remains devoted to his homeland, even when exiled. He always acts in Sparta's best interests, even at personal cost. He fights to preserve Sparta's military dominance, though his later years see its decline. Despite Agesilaus' efforts, Sparta begins to lose influence due to internal conflicts and defeats. His later campaigns fail to restore Sparta's former glory, signaling its eventual downfall. Xenophon's Agesilaus is both a tribute and a lesson in leadership. It presents Agesilaus II as an ideal king, highlighting his military genius, personal virtues, and dedication to Sparta. However, it also reflects the decline of Sparta, showing that even the greatest leaders cannot always prevent a nation's downfall. Hipparchicus. Hipparchikos, or the cavalry commander, is Xenophon's military manual on cavalry leadership. It serves as a guide for hipparchs, cavalry commanders, in ancient Greece, providing practical advice on training, tactics, and leadership. Xenophon, an experienced cavalry officer, wrote this treatise based on his personal experiences in the Athenian and Spartan armies. His goal was to improve cavalry effectiveness in warfare and emphasize the moral and strategic responsibilities of a leader. The ideal cavalry commander, Hipparchus, must be brave, disciplined, and respected by his soldiers. Should lead by example, showing courage in battle. Needs to be both a skilled warrior and a wise strategist. Emphasizes constant drilling to improve horsemanship and combat skills. Horses should be well fed, exercised, and accustomed to battlefield conditions. Riders must train in javelin throwing, spear combat, and formation riding. Importance of mobility and surprise attacks against infantry. Proper use of scouting and reconnaissance to gather intelligence. Maintaining battle formations and discipline during engagements. A good commander must inspire and motivate his troops. Fair treatment of soldiers leads to loyalty and high morale. Must know how to handle fear and maintain discipline in battle. Cavalry should work in coordination with infantry. Best used for flanking, pursuit, and disrupting enemy formations. Should be prepared for both offensive and defensive operations. Xenophon's Hipparchicus is a practical and insightful guide for cavalry officers, blending technical advice with leadership principles. It reflects his deep understanding of warfare and remains an important historical text on military command. On horsemanship. On horsemanship, Perihippix is one of the earliest surviving works on horse care, training, and riding. Written by Xenophon, a skilled cavalry officer, the treatise provides practical guidance on selecting, maintaining, and training horses for both civilian and military use. This manual reflects Xenophon's deep appreciation for horses and their role in warfare, making it an important text in the history of equestrian literature. Examine the hooves strong, well-formed, and smooth. The legs should be straight and sturdy for endurance. Look for a strong neck, broad chest, and muscular body. The horse should have a lively yet manageable temperament. Proper feeding, grooming, and exercise are essential for a healthy horse. Stables should be well ventilated, clean, and spacious. Emphasizes regular hoof care to prevent injuries. Horses should not be overworked to maintain their energy and endurance. A military horse must be brave, obedient, and responsive to commands. Training should include riding in formation, sudden stops, and changes in direction. The horse should be accustomed to loud noises in combat situations. Riders should use gentle methods rather than harsh punishments to train the horse. The rider must sit balanced and upright to maintain control. The horse should be guided with minimal force, light reins, and subtle leg movements. Xenophon advises against harsh bits or excessive use of the whip. A good rider must understand the horse's natural movements and work with them. Riders should build trust with their horses through patience and consistency. A well-trained horse should respond willingly rather than through fear. Xenophon emphasizes harmony between horse and rider rather than forced control. Xenophon's On Horsemanship is a practical and insightful guide that showcases his expertise in cavalry training and deep respect for horses. His advice on gentle handling, balanced riding, and careful selection remains timeless, making this text a foundational work in equestrian studies. On Hunting, Synageticus. On Hunting, Synageticus, Kinegeticos is a detailed guide on hunting, particularly focused on hunting with dogs. Xenophon, an experienced cavalry officer and outdoorsman, presents hunting as a noble and virtuous pursuit, beneficial for both physical fitness and moral development. He emphasizes that hunting trains young men for war, builds discipline, and fosters a connection with nature. The treatise also provides practical advice on selecting, training, and using hounds for hunting hares, deer, and wild boars. Hunting is not just a sport but a form of education and character building. It prepares young men for military service, improving endurance, strength, and tactical thinking. Xenophon sees hunting as a gift from the gods, meant to teach discipline and self-control. He criticizes city life, claiming it leads to laziness and moral decline. Hares, the most common and exciting game for training young hunters. Deer, more challenging, requiring patience and skill. Wild boars, dangerous and requiring well-trained dogs and coordinated teamwork. The best hounds should be fast, intelligent, and obedient. Dogs must be trained from a young age to recognize scent and chase effectively. Good hunting dogs show loyalty, determination, and an ability to learn from experience. Xenophon provides descriptions of ideal breeds and their characteristics. Hunting should be done at dawn when animals are most active. Dogs should be released strategically to drive prey into open areas. Hunters should work in teams, using their knowledge of terrain and animal behavior. The use of nets, traps, and coordinated chases helps capture prey efficiently. Xenophon praises Artemis, the goddess of hunting, and Apollo, the god of archery. He believes hunting is a sacred activity that aligns humans with divine will. He criticizes those who hunt only for pleasure or profit, arguing that true hunters respect nature. Xenophon criticizes sophists, philosophers who charge for teaching, arguing that hunting teaches virtue better than rhetorical debates. He warns that society is becoming too focused on luxury and comfort, leading to the decline of traditional values. Xenophon's On Hunting is more than just a manual on capturing animals, it is a philosophical reflection on discipline, courage, and the virtues of an active life. He presents hunting as a sacred and noble tradition, essential for both personal development and the survival of a strong society. The Constitution of the Spartans, Lacedaemonian Constitution. The Constitution of the Spartans, Lacedaemonian Constitution, is Xenophon's analysis of the Spartan political and social system, particularly focusing on the reforms of Lycurgus, the legendary Spartan lawgiver. Xenophon, who admired Sparta's military discipline and governance, presents Sparta as an ideal state that prioritizes strength, unity, and stability over individual luxury and democracy. Unlike Athens, Sparta was a militaristic oligarchy where citizens were trained for war from birth. Xenophon praises Sparta's unique institutions, which aim to maintain a powerful and obedient society, but he also acknowledges that Sparta's rigidity led to its eventual decline. Lycurgus, the semi-mythical founder of Sparta's laws, is credited with shaping Spartan society. His laws eliminated wealth disparities, discouraged luxury, and made military service the central duty of all male citizens. Xenophon believes the Lycurgus system created the most disciplined and warlike people in Greece. Dual kingship. Sparta had two kings, serving both religious and military roles. Gurusea Council of Elders, a 28-member council of experienced men, over 60, who advise the kings. Ephors magistrates, 5 annually elected officials who had the real power, keeping the kings and citizens in check. Apella Citizen Assembly, made up of Spartan male citizens who voted on important matters but had little political influence. Agoge education system, Spartan boys were taken at age 7 for intense military and survival training. Discipline and hardship. Spartans were taught to endure pain, hunger, and fatigue to make them tougher soldiers. Collective living. Adult Spartan men lived in military barracks until age 30 to ensure absolute unity and loyalty. Iron currency. Gold and silver were banned to prevent greed and corruption. Unlike in other Greek states, Spartan women were given more rights and responsibilities. Women were trained in physical fitness to ensure they gave birth to strong warriors. Marriage was state-controlled, and weak infants were abandoned to maintain a pure warrior class. The Spartan economy relied on helots, an enslaved population forced to farm and provide resources. Helots were treated harshly, often massacred to prevent uprisings. Spartans themselves did not engage in trade or manual labor, focusing only on war. Xenophon acknowledges that Sparta's strict system eventually led to its downfall. As Sparta gained wealth after the Peloponnesian War, it abandoned Lycurgus' ideals, leading to corruption. Declining population and military failures, like the Battle of Leuctra in 371 BCE, weakened Sparta permanently. Xenophon's The Constitution of the Spartans glorifies the discipline and order of Sparta but also hints at its rigidity and weaknesses. While Sparta's military system made it dominant for a time, its refusal to adapt led to its decline. This book remains essential for understanding ancient Greek political philosophy, military culture, and the balance between order and freedom. The Revenues of Athens, Ways and Means. The Revenues of Athens, Ways and Means is Xenophon's economic treatise that provides recommendations on how Athens could increase its wealth without relying on war or empire expansion. Written after Athens' defeat in the Peloponnesian War, 431–404 BCE, and during a time of economic decline, Xenophon suggests practical strategies to revive Athenian prosperity through trade, taxation, and efficient resource management. Unlike his other works that focus on military or philosophical themes, this book is purely economic, making it one of the earliest known works on public finance and economic policy. Despite its losses, Athens still had valuable resources, a large population including skilled labor and merchants. A strategic port Piraeus that could be a trade hub. Silver mines at Laurium, a major source of income. A reputation as a cultural and commercial center in Greece. Athens should attract foreign merchants by offering them tax benefits and legal protection. By making Athens a welcoming place for foreigners, the city could benefit from increased trade, investment, and innovation. The Laurium silver mines were Athens' most important natural resource. Xenophon suggests better management, investment in slave labor, and more efficient mining techniques to increase production. Profits from these mines could fund public works and social welfare. Instead of raising taxes on citizens, Athens could generate income through state-run businesses like leasing land and workshops. Harbor fees and port duties from the busy Piraeus port. Encouraging voluntary contributions from wealthy citizens through festivals and civic pride. Athenian naval power was once a major source of wealth via the Delian League. Xenophon suggests rebuilding the fleet, not for war, but for protecting trade routes and encouraging maritime commerce. Athens should invest in better roads, ports, and markets to make trade easier. Public buildings and entertainment festivals, theaters, and sports would attract more visitors and boost the economy. Xenophon's The Revenues of Athens is a forward-thinking economic strategy that proposes peaceful wealth generation through trade, investment, and efficient resource management. It reflects his pragmatic and realistic approach to governance, proving that economic strength does not always require military power. Thank you for watching.